Hello, everyone, and welcome to our interview with Ruben Eiras. He's the Secretary General of Portugal's Fórum Oceano. Fórum Oceano has the beautiful mission to promote the sustainable economy of the sea. And so, Ruben, thank you so much for being part of the Blue Tech Summit today. Before we dive into the questions, can you explain a little bit about Fórum Oceano's main activities?
Very well. So, first of all, many thanks for this wonderful invitation. I wish I was there, but this time was not possible at the beautiful city of Haifa. But certainly there will be another opportunity in the near future to be there. And also, my congratulations for the Israeli Center for Blue Economy for going forward with this initiative in these complex times. Because we need to build together the future in order to ensure the sustainability for us all. And blue economy is really key. And this is really what drives Fórum Oceano's action. So we exist for 14 years. During these 14 years, we have been promoting the blue economy in an integrated approach, like it is promoted in the European Union. So what this means, we look at the blue economy in an agnostic perspective. This is to say that we approach every sector and we include every sector of the blue economy. Because blue economy, at the end of the day, is a super cluster or a mega sector. Why? Because you have fisheries, aquaculture, shipping, tourism, ports, all using the same asset, ocean. But also there is a dimension that is gaining in importance in several geographies. That is also the integration of the fresh water into this concept of the blue economy. So technologies of desalination to bring more water that is consumable by humans and also to use in agriculture from the ocean is becoming even more and more critical. So at Fórum Oceano, what we now presently do is to promote innovation and build innovation ecosystems that mobilize our members towards adopting an ESG business model for the blue economy, whatever the sector they operate. We are a non-profit organization. We have 164 members at the moment from all the 10 value chains that are identified in the Blue Invest report of the European Commission, and we represent more than 50% of the blue GDP of Portugal. Our ambition is to represent the other 50%, or even better, to create the other 50%. So we are, ambitious in our action, but also realistic in how to do it. This is what also drives us in every day. Also, in that respect, we are a national cluster. We are recognized as a cluster of competitiveness by the government of Portugal under the EU regulation for industrial clusters, but we see our action in a global world. So we are a Portuguese organization, but we have a very strong international drive in our action. Because for the change that we have to do, and also for growing Portugal's blue economy, we have to have international partnerships.
Yes, indeed. And we will speak about that just in a bit with your permission. But first, let's speak a little bit about blue economy investments in Portugal. During an earlier conversation, you said that we see investments in the blue economy in Portugal, they're more diversified this year than last year, when you saw mostly investments in ports and shipping. So in which areas have you seen more investments this year? And can you explain why?
Very well. So when you look at the economy, one of the approaches that you do for, trying to simplify such a complex sector is, dividing between, you could say, the conventional sectors and the emerging sectors. So conventional sectors, you see fisheries, ports, shipping, so on. Of course, today, that kind of categorization is, how we say, arguable, because you have also a lot of cross-cutting forces of change, like digitalization or decarbonization, that also affect the conventional sectors. Then the emergence, but let's stick to this for, in terms of simplification. Then you have the emergent sectors like blue biotech, ocean renewables, and so on. So in Portugal, what is now attracting investors, and in which dimensions? So in the conventional sectors, what we have now is a very strong growth in our ports by the third year consecutive. So we have a growth of goods transshipment, and this is very important because due to the geographical position of Portugal, our ports, even our deep sea port, has much more, let's say, function of transshipment of goods. So this means that the opportunity for investing in our ports, which most of them are underinvested, is there, and especially investment in their digitalization, because they have, in terms of their talent, Portugal was one of the first EU countries to adopt the maritime single window. And for example, in the north of Portugal, the port of Oceano in Porto is one of the most efficient ports in Europe. So a container that enters in the port of Oceano in less of 2 hours is already dispatched to go to its destination. And all it's done paperless. And it works like this for almost 10 years. So there's a lot of experience in this kind of digitalization of logistics that will augment operational efficiency, thus cutting the CO2 emissions of these operations. So the growth in this, I would say, this kind of operations in the ports is a good news in economics, in the economic side, but also it's a good news from the environmental side, because you are able to, do this operation with much less carbon, and this is something that we can, develop with the right investment and spread out, this approach, to other ports that are much bigger than ours, but we have, something to say in there. Then when you look at the emergent sectors, and here I will put aquaculture in the emergent sector. Why? Because Portugal, despite having a very, in Portugal mainland, and also taking account its islands, it has a very long coast and a very, open sea area. It's a very rough sea. So we have, at least in the north of Portugal, for example, 40% of the year we have waves of 10, 14 meters high, during, almost 40% of the year. So you could, and also in Nazaré, we have one of the biggest, the giant waves that you have so it's very, very rough sea. So aquaculture, to be possible, because we have a good sea quality, it has to be in these areas in onshore. And the RAS approach, so the recirculation aquaculture approach, had a very strong technology optimization, especially derived from the AI and the application of artificial intelligence in the management of the water. So this is possibilitating that investments that once were in a certain scale could, be optimized in 30% or even 40%, considering what was the technology 5 to 7 years ago. So we have, a very recent good news. One of our board members, a startup called Ciência, was awarded last week an investment of 12.5 million euros to do a recirculation, so a RAS facility in Peniche, or from Corvina. I don't remember the name in English, but I could send you, later on. And also it was awarded the license to an Israeli company that has created a Portuguese company called Mariculture. By the way, it's based in Haifa. Its CEO. And here it's an offshore facility in the south of Portugal, in the Algarve, near the maritime border with Spain, where waters are much, I would say, calmer. And you have also the ecosystem conditions for growing a huge offshore, facility that, if it's online, you're talking about a 75 million euros investment, I would say, initiative that will, almost more than double the production of aquaculture in Portugal. Then the other front is ocean energy in two fronts. One is the ocean energy produced in ports. Here, by coincidence, we have another Israeli, company, EcoWave Power, from in a Bremen, that was, is going to install a pilot in the port of Leixões, so in the north of Portugal, where is the headquarters of Fórum Oceano. And also we have the Wind Float Atlantic, which is the first floating offshore wind farm. It was the first in the world, that is located in the north of Portugal, in Viana do Castelo. It's it's a demonstration facility. It is financed by the European Investment Bank, partially, and it has a consortium then the other part is a consortium of private companies, led by a Portuguese company called EDP. And it's a 25 megawatts wind farm that is now producing electricity, clean electricity, in the last, let's say, 4 years for 60,000 homes. And the production is now 50% higher than it was expected. And it was able to function even with a 14 meters wave. Also, a recent study done by a local university from Viana do Castelo found that there was an increase of 50 new marine species that attach themselves to the platforms. So here we are having it all. We have the clean energy, more energy autonomy, sustainable, with security, and then we are having also natural capital restoration. So it seems too good to be true, but it is true, and it's happening. Now we have to scale it up, And the government will launch an auction. I think the most we could expect is to be launched in the first quarter of next year for developing 2 gigawatts of capacity in floating offshore wind. Then finally, I will close this this because it's long the way I'm speaking. The blue tech and ocean observation area. So the digital area, and in there we have a lot of talent in Portugal, especially in the dual use area. So we are working here alongside the Hydrographic Institute, where I am at the moment. We have that hosts our delegation of Fórum Oceano in Lisbon. And here we are working with the Portuguese Navy in order to spin off the technologies that they are developing here of sensoring and other areas of digitalization of the ocean to the private sector, so that you can have robust digital technologies for capturing and harvesting. Then we have the other opportunity of and the final opportunity of the blue tech and ocean observation area, so value chain. So what this is? So it's all the digital technologies that are used for monitoring the ocean and getting information, harvesting information from the ocean. Why this is important? It is important for the operations that are developed to mitigate their negative impact. And with this right technology that we are working with the Portuguese Navy in a dual use approach, so the technology that they use for their operations then spin off for the aquaculture, shipping, ocean renewables, in order to mitigate their impact and also to harvest the right information for getting the best efficiency for the operations. Why this is important? Because with this approach, we will be able not only to mitigate the negative impact of these industries, but manage properly the ocean. If you want to have also good marine protected areas, you have to have the right technology to harvest the information of what is happening there. With this approach, you don't only guarantee that you are able to protect 30%, that's the global goal of MPAs, but ensure that you manage properly 100% of your maritime area. And this is what we are, for now, the major opportunities here in Portugal.
Great, thank you for that overview, impressive overview. Earlier, when we started the conversation, you spoke about internationalization, about working internationally. So I've been following your work over the last a little bit more over a year. You are making great strides in collaboration with organizations all over the world, really. How do you think we can all work together to build a global blue economy network? And what is the best way to support companies, in your case from Portugal, that are going international?
Very well. So regarding our international action, it's driven mostly by our action inside the European Common Market, but also extra European Union Common Market. And in this respect, we are, for the last 2 years, the world headquarters of the Blue Tech Cluster Alliance, which is in a formal alliance of 10 clusters from 8 countries. So from this moment, from United States, Canada, UK, France, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, and Norway. Now, very recently, we had a request for joining this alliance from Japan, from the Marine Open Innovation Institute in Shizuoka. which is now going to be integrated still during this month. And of course, we are open, to every corner of the world that functions in a democratic way. And of course, we would welcome, an application from the Israeli Center for Blue Economy. Okay, so already done this. So what is the aim of this network? Is really to help to connect, the clusters that operate in the blue economy by facilitating the matchmaking between their members. Because here you have an easier way to know their markets and also to find the right partners that have the trust of being inside an organization that is, in this case, and especially in the European case, certified by their governments to host the title as a cluster. Yeah. So this is very important in the European Union dimension. So you have to follow a certain kind of practices, have a certain kind of conditions. So this means that we accept in the Blue Tech Cluster Alliance organizations that have similarities of action and practice in that dimension. Why this is important? Because this creates a global network, and this is the way we operate, that facilitates the access and the knowledge of our companies, that most of them are very small, to markets that is a big effort to internationalize, because you have to have the cost of doing the right contact, knocking at the right door, for having the right information about licensing, about the technological standards that you have to follow, the fiscal obligations, and also finding the right partners. It's much easier when you have another similar organization like Fórum Oceano in that market. Also, when you look also the access to the knowledge and science and test facilities, the standards of technologies and of equipments vary from market to market, from geography and between geographies. So this means if these organizations that also work with science partners are able to deliver and to offer test facilities, this is very important, because it means that a company, for example, from Israel, can test either its technology in Portugal, for example, with the right partner doing it, replicating it in Canada, and then replicating it in Japan. Of course, there is already science connections that help that, but here we can do it in a faster way. It's like having a kind of a blue lane, a blue fast lane of contacts and matchmaking worldwide. So in order, what could be, for example, the partnership between Israel and Portugal? Well, Israel is the startup nation, and it has a vibrant ecosystem in every way. And also, it has a work culture that also is very important for the Portuguese, to learn from and to get better on that. Here in Portugal, we have, we don't have much land, but sea conditions and also different sea conditions where you can test your technology, take it to the other level. This is, the place to do it. Not, of course, I'm being biased on that, but to say that the sea and the coastal conditions and the north of Portugal mainland is completely different from the south. And then when you add the autonomous regions of Madeira, which is a subtropical region, in Anabas, with the Azores, which is in the center of the Atlantic, which it's an area of submarine mountains. So we have very different ways, very different ecosystems where you can test your technology. And even for testing, for example, autonomous ship vessels technologies, we have a huge maritime area that is under the only jurisdiction of one country. So it's contiguous in Europe and in a deep sea environment. So for testing, the place for testing technologies like rigid sails with autonomous vessels, for example, you have here in the same territory, with the same legal jurisdiction, and this is very important, a route that is long enough, so 1 day, 2 days, 3 days of distance, for testing the technology and optimizing it, and doing it in a regular way. So you cannot find much of these places in the world, and especially under the European Union cloud. So this means that if you by chance create a company here, you will have access to the funds for doing these tests. And also we have, of course, the science and you could say the first level innovation facilities that will help Israeli companies to scale up. We have very small companies. We don't have many industry, but we want to have it. And we are now have the critical mass to do it. But we need partners like the ones from and companies that we have in Israel that, partnering with us, you can scale up and grow together. Also, finalizing this point, Israel is very known by technology of water management. So either through the desalination or the wastewater treatment. Water is key now in the Iberian Peninsula, and now it's becoming a very big issue in Portugal. We're going to have now a desalination plant in the Algarve. Until now there was only one in the island of Porto Santo in the archipelago of Madeira. So water management area is something that Israel is, you could say, a world blue champion. So here we are ready to receive your companies, and also Portuguese companies that want to work in Israel. If there is also matchmaking of conditions, of course, most of our members will be delighted to it.
Well, we're looking forward to that. Let's wrap it up here, Ruben. Thank you so much for joining us today at the Blue Tech Summit.
Thank you very much.